Hello everyone, welcome to Young Guide Podcast. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Young Guide Podcast. Before we begin, for those of you who are new to this podcast, this is where Young Guide shares about two main topics: personal finance management skills and life experiences that I have accumulated, as well as stories of success. The Stress Code, this book is about what? The Stress Code, published in 2018, offers readers a completely new perspective on the perennial enemy of many when it comes to the word stress. Most of us associate stress with negativity, especially those who have struggled to escape from it. But did you know that from a certain angle, stress can bring positive outcomes? In this book, the author provides highly effective stress management strategies to help you improve your mental and physical health, boost motivation, and achieve your goals. Who is this book for? It's for anyone who has experienced or is currently experiencing stress, anyone seeking work-life balance, and those in need of recovery after going through a period of chronic stress. As for the author, Richard Sutton is a health and performance consultant who has provided advice to world-class athletes, Olympic teams, and international sports organizations. Sutton is also a consultant for leading organizations in developing stress resilience, promoting employee engagement, and enhancing work performance. A fresh perspective on stress. Nowadays, many people are caught in the whirlwind of work. They rush from one place to another, work late into the night, rarely get enough sleep or eat regular meals. After a period of time, they become mentally and physically exhausted. These are signs of short-term stress. Stress can cause us to feel anxious, gain weight, and experience decreased cognitive function. In the long term, it can lead to heart attacks, strokes, autoimmune diseases, and even premature death, which is truly alarming. However, stress at an appropriate level can still bring about positive outcomes. It can serve as a motivation for us to take action and achieve our goals. That's why, instead of trying to avoid stress, you must learn to harness it. The book The Code of Stress will help you achieve this. The advancement of technology and the desire for success are increasing our stress levels. Modern life has put humans in a spiral of stress. Many health experts worldwide advise us to slow down, take time to rest, and not get too caught up in work. It sounds easy, but it's not easy to do. Some people are so stressed that they collapse. To save themselves, they have tried everything from practicing yoga, meditation, and even taking sleeping pills. But why do we get stressed? According to the author, the physical and mental health of a person depends on their ability to establish balance in their life. In a state of balance, we can easily switch between states of stimulation and regeneration, activity and rest. On the contrary, if we cannot establish that balance, we will experience stress, which is truly unfortunate. The lack of balance in life is a modern-day epidemic. But where does this epidemic originate from? Firstly, technology has eliminated our resting time. Imagine the following scenario in the evening. After having dinner, you plan to read a part of your favorite book and then chat with your family. But before you can do anything, your phone rings, and on the other end of the line is your colleague urging you. You check your boss's email, and the result is that for the entire evening, you have to immerse yourself in work. Many people see themselves in this situation, and you wonder what if the incident of urgently checking work email in the evening repeats. Many people become obsessed to the point where they are unable to free themselves from work anymore. Every evening, they open their laptop or hold their phone in their hand, just waiting for the notification sound to dive into work regardless of everything around them. Another important reason that causes us to lose balance in life is the attitude of worshiping success and fearing failure, even to the extreme. This attitude is becoming a norm in modern society today. Whether we realize it or not, we are all pushing ourselves to become a better, greater individual in the eyes of others. Many people feel extremely uncomfortable, even angry, when they see their colleagues getting promoted, getting a raise, buying a beautiful house, or a luxury car. Gradually, they get caught up in an endless cycle of competition, working more, taking less time off, hoping to be noticed. And it's no surprise that their level of stress keeps increasing rapidly. A study conducted by Yale School of Medicine and the University of California has revealed a shocking statistic: an average person living in a developed society will experience 4 to 5 episodes of stress every week. It's time to learn how to manage stress, even harness it, if you don't want to find yourself sinking into a negative spiral with no way out. Many people feel stressed because they do not have control over their work. Almost everyone knows that work is the leading cause of stress. But have you ever wondered why? In 1967, Professor Michael Marmot conducted a study to answer this question. He followed 28,000 civil servants in the UK over a 40-year period. The results showed that the level of workplace stress directly affects the health and lifespan of these individuals. Specifically, the rank of an employee within an organization has a close relationship with the level of stress they experience. You may think that high-level employees such as managers and department heads would experience more stress because they carry heavy responsibilities. One mistake could cost them dearly. However, research by Professor Michael Marmot has proven the opposite. Low-level employees are actually more susceptible to stress, with a 300% higher risk of premature death compared to high-level employees. Why is that? It's simple. Low-level employees receive less support from company leadership and have little opportunity for job advancement. Many of them are stuck doing the same job year after year. Most importantly, low-level employees lack decision-making authority and control over their work. Based on Professor Michael's findings, many researchers have concluded that the level of control in the workplace significantly affects employee happiness. In 2008, after synthesizing the results of 16 studies involving 63,000 people, Danish experts declared that a sense of helplessness at work is closely linked to symptoms of depression. There is another important relationship that is often overlooked, which is the mental health of employees directly impacting both the specific business and the economy as a whole. The more stressed employees are, the lower their productivity, and the more evident the decline in company profits. Taking care of employees' mental health is not only a humane action, but also a measure to improve the company's business situation. So what should business leaders do? The short answer is to empower employees, allowing them to have control over their work and participate more in the decision-making process of the company. Managers should also enhance support for employees and make efforts to prevent bullying behaviors from higher to lower levels. If you are a business owner, remember this: reducing workplace stress will benefit everyone. Music is a stress response that can be divided into two types, both with positive and negative effects on the body. Our ancestors lived in wild shelters, hunting for food every day, and had to face real threats, such as being attacked by wild animals. In extremely dangerous moments, their bodies would activate the fight or flight mechanism. At this time, the concentration of energy-supplying hormones would increase significantly, all senses would become more sensitive, muscle strength and intelligence would be enhanced. And even pain tolerance would increase due to this mechanism, allowing our ancestors to survive and evolve for thousands of years. When encountering stress, our body activates a similar mechanism known as the stress response. This response is divided into two layers related to the sympathetic nervous system, SNS, and the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, HPA, axis. The first layer is the fight or flight response triggered by the lower brain control center. It rapidly activates the sympathetic nervous system and releases adrenaline hormone. When adrenaline is released, it increases heart rate, improves blood circulation to the brain and muscles, while also releasing energy to boost the immune system to protect against infection. Additionally, it enhances sense of smell and visual acuity. Notably, the second layer of the stress response works as follows. The increased adrenaline levels will activate the adrenal glands to produce cortisol by balancing the effects of adrenaline. Without cortisol, our immune system may become overactive and harmful to the body. You may think that the stress response is indeed a remarkable mechanism. However, it's important to remember that while activating the stress response in the short term can be beneficial, prolonged activation can be harmful to our health. Specifically, if cortisol and adrenaline are continuously released into the bloodstream at high levels, it can take a toll on our body. For example, chronic high levels of cortisol can lead to digestive issues, weight gain, and impaired memory. Meanwhile, high levels of adrenaline can increase blood pressure and raise the risk of heart attack or stroke. But that's not all, and in the next chapter, we will further analyze the long-term effects of stress. Chronic stress can have serious impacts on our health. For instance, imagine you have worked 50 hours this week and it's now Friday morning. After hearing the alarm clock, you drag yourself out of bed feeling miserable. Lately, you haven't been able to sleep and have lost your appetite. Without a doubt, you are exhausted. This is the consequence of short-term stress. But what happens if we experience stress for a prolonged period of time? Things can get much worse, as we have analyzed in previous sections. Stress is a natural part of life and can, to some extent, help our body activate positive responses. However, if prolonged stress persists for months, even years, it can lead to complete physical and mental exhaustion. In other words, you may experience chronic stress. The author himself has also experienced chronic stress, which he describes as an inevitable breakdown. Specifically, in 2007, he was hired as the sports director of the Chinese Olympic team, who was busy preparing for the upcoming Olympic event in Beijing. For him, this job was a dream come true and something he had always aspired to. However, the reality turned out to be much harsher. The Olympic team's training location resembled a prison, with guards outside and social media usage banned inside. The only way he could communicate with the outside world was by sending disaster-stricken cats, worse than those around him. Unable to speak English, and only a few months later, he felt surprisingly isolated. He worked 70 hours a week, rarely leaving the training site and hardly talking to anyone. Faced with constant and prolonged stress, his body could no longer cope. He suffered from constant illness, relying on painkillers and antibiotics to get by. The ultimate consequence was severe damage to his kidneys. According to the author, chronic stress is becoming increasingly common in today's world, with more and more people experiencing health issues related to the immune system, nervous system, and reproductive organs, especially among young people who are now experiencing diseases that were previously only seen in older adults, such as memory decline. After hearing the author's story, it's hard to believe that stress can sometimes be good for your health, isn't it? Let's find out the truth about this issue in the next chapter. Acute stress can actually provide the motivation to achieve our goals. In the early 2000s, Sutton flew to the United States to consult on improving mental and physical health for a top-ranked tennis player after the season ended. However, unfortunately, shortly after he left, the player suffered a shoulder injury. Upon receiving this news, Sutton remained relatively calm. He said he would return to the United States and in the meantime, the player should find a reputable therapist to assess the injury. But unfortunately, even the therapist didn't know what town they were in or how to treat the injury. Finally, with the US Open tennis tournament scheduled to take place in less than a week, Sutton began to panic. If he couldn't find a solution, it was likely that the player wouldn't be able to compete. Sutton found himself mentally and physically exhausted. He couldn't eat well, sleep peacefully, or relax for even a second. But unlike the previous Olympic incident, this time Sutton felt hopeful and believed he would find a solution. It seemed that the stress was actually driving him forward. After spending a few days immersing himself in books, Sutton stumbled upon a technique called internal organ manipulation. He believed that this technique could surely help the injured tennis player's shoulder recover, and indeed it did. The very next day, the tennis player excitedly informed Sutton that he had miraculously recovered overnight and was ready to play his first match of the tournament. Sutton breathed a sigh of relief, realizing he had been under a lot of stress in the past few days. But this stress had resulted in positive outcomes. Just as scientists believe that acute stress, which occurs over a short period of time, can have positive effects on humans. It helps us adapt to change, accept risks, and determine solutions in difficult situations. Let's delve further into this issue in the next chapter. You can learn how to manage your own stress like a professional athlete. For many people, the life of a professional athlete may seem glamorous. They get to do what they love, are famous, earn a high income, and have many admirers. However, not everyone knows what happens behind the glory. The success of athletes is earned through sweat, and sometimes even blood. They have to adhere to a rigorous training schedule, often far away from home, and face criticism and judgment whenever they fail to perform. Fortunately, most athletes have the ability to recover quickly from crises to ensure their physical and mental health remains at its best. In other words, they rarely suffer from chronic stress. So, what is their secret? From the early days of joining the team, athletes are taught to view stress as a positive experience and believe that an appropriate level of stress can drive them towards success. They are also taught how to release stress in a healthy way, such as talking to the coaching staff, head coach, or the team sports psychologist. When it comes to managing physical stress, diet and exercise play an incredibly important role. Athletes carefully plan their meals to promote recovery, reduce inflammation, and provide energy. That's why they consume healthy foods and limit alcohol and coffee intake to aid in muscle recovery. Athletes often incorporate regular stretching exercises, massages, meditation, yoga, and breathwork into their routine to soothe their nerves and enhance focus. Essentially, an athlete's body is like a well-lubricated machine, with all parts working in harmony to ensure smooth functioning in every activity. It's not surprising that most athletes tend to have longer lifespans and lower risk of diseases compared to the general population. What can you learn from these findings? Many people claim they don't have enough money for weekly massages or time to prepare healthy meals every day. Don't worry, simply limiting your intake of unhealthy foods and taking time to relax can work wonders. That's a concrete example of how your perception of stress can change towards a positive direction. Scientists have proven that when stress is combined with a negative perception of stress, it can greatly impact our health. So, whenever you feel stress creeping in, don't dwell on how it might negatively affect your health. Instead, see it as a positive experience that can motivate you to achieve your goals. Activating the vagus nerve can help you prevent your stress response from taking over. Sometimes, stress can leave you unable to think clearly or focus, and your mind may feel like a tangled mess. Fortunately, scientists have discovered a reset button that can help you interrupt the stress response when things are becoming too overwhelming, and that reset button is the vagus nerve. First, let's learn a bit about this nerve. It is one of the longest and most influential nerves in the human body. It runs from the top of the skull down to the back of the hand, through the front of the chest, and straight down to the abdomen. It helps the brain communicate with organs such as the heart, lungs, and digestive system. It can also calm the body after a fight or flight response triggered by adrenaline. So, how can you activate your vagus nerve? Remember this, activating the vagus nerve is similar to stretching your muscles after exercising. Everything should be done gently and slowly. The stretching action will help the muscles return to their normal resting state after a period of high-intensity activity, and this is exactly what happens when we activate our vagus nerve. It will reduce cortisol levels, decrease inflammation, and help bring our minds back to a balanced state. You can try meditation, swimming, or listening to soothing music to activate your vagus nerve. In particular, yoga is an excellent choice. When practicing yoga daily, cortisol levels in the body can decrease by up to 40%, while also releasing tension, increasing physical strength and flexibility, and improving your emotions. It turns out that we can relieve stress with simple measures. So, if you feel yourself caught in a cycle of stress, don't just sit there and endure it. Go for a swim, step onto a yoga mat, or listen to some classical music. Diet, exercise, and outdoor activities can help you recover from stress. After finishing high school, the author decided to take a 5-month break in the United States before starting military service. Initially, Sutton set a goal to actively go out, immerse himself in the local culture, experience the nightlife of the land of the stars and stripes, and make friends with many new people. However, in reality, he ended up spending the whole day in the room watching TV, drinking soda, and eating cheesy pizza. After that trip, Sutton suddenly became more irritable. He felt physically and mentally drained, and things got worse when he had to fulfill his military obligations in the Navy, a branch known for its rigorous exercises. It's no surprise that the level of stress from solving puzzles increased dramatically, as we learned in previous chapters. The stress further deteriorated his physical and mental health, emotions, and well-being, creating a vicious cycle. Fortunately, diet, exercise, and outdoor activities can help break this cycle. You might be wondering where to start. According to the author, let's begin with small changes in diet. It's advisable to limit alcohol and coffee, as these beverages can increase cortisol levels and trigger adrenaline production. Instead, opt for green tea and cocoa, as they not only stabilize stress responses but also enhance and protect the 3 systems most affected by chronic stress: the immune system, nervous system, and cardiovascular system. Exercise is also an excellent way to recover from stress. It improves brain function and promotes hormonal changes that enhance our physical health. Many studies have demonstrated that exercise can significantly improve cognitive function, as it promotes the production of a protein called PFNF, which provides nutrition for the brain. If you do not enjoy high-intensity exercise, you can still benefit from walking for 10 to 20 minutes each day in the early morning when the sun is gently shining. Moderate sunlight exposure can counteract mild depression and boost the immune system. This can be achieved by making small changes in your daily life. Your ability to recover from stress will be greatly improved. However, remember to be patient, as any valuable changes in life require time and effort. Stress is inevitable, but there are ways to manage and harness it. The most important thing is to change your perspective on stress. Instead of viewing it as something negative, think of it as a positive experience that can increase your motivation and help you achieve your goals. A helpful piece of advice is to create a stress-reducing action plan. Try setting up a plan that includes small steps. If you want to reduce stress, start with walking for 20 minutes each day in the morning, or cooking a healthy meal in the evening. You can also try talking to someone you trust once a week. In general, instead of focusing on big, overwhelming changes, it's better to consistently implement small changes every day. Young Guide would like to conclude today's podcast here. If you find these contents helpful, please share them with your friends and loved ones. Additionally, as usual, because YouTube's algorithm prioritizes videos with more likes, if you enjoy this video, please click the like button to help us reach more people. Thank you for your support and for following us. Thanks for watching.